Hey guys, Dov here, back with another unit highlight. Today we're talking about War Lions, a unit that somehow is underrated, even though they just barely came out. I'm seeing them a lot less than I thought I would. And here we've got another replay from Jack Norman, and he's going to be taking them against the Empire, and using them to support Dragon Princes here. So let's take a look at the build. We've got the Fireborn over here on this side with Rahagras Pride, so the two RORs, Noble, and of course, to keep all that expensive all those expensive models online, Alariel to heal. We've got Illyrian Reavers, frontline of Rangers, a couple of Lothern Seaguard, and on the other side some more Princes with regular War Lions. For the Empire, Karl leading the way. We've got a bunch of Empire Knights, Silver Bullets, State Troops, Mini Boris, and a Life Caster. So yeah, just pretty standard combined arms type Empire. I say combined arms, it really is like State Troops, Karl, and Empire Knights, with Outriders, of course, being, I guess, yeah, combined arms. They have missiles, cavalry, you got everything, basically, except artillery. But here, already, the Empire Knights, I mean, they are kind of meant to just block here anyway. You certainly wouldn't expect them to win this, but this is going to be especially one-sided. A nice Shield of Thorns here as well to give them some physical resistance, Fireborn, and these Rahagras Pride. The leadership debuff also goes down. Those Empire Knights are quickly going to be broken there. Nicely done to get rid of that blocking detachment. Already able to collapse with the Reavers as well. Start to catch some of the Outriders there. Karl now going to get a Tempest. Very nicely done from Alariel. He is able to still get his charge animation off, though, and gets to the ground there. Is taking some damage, but at the very least engaged in combat. Empire Knights also following up. Rangers kind of got hammered in the front line a little bit, but they were going to lose out to the State Troops. Empire Knights definitely making their presence felt, but the Princes and the Lions together, I mean, a Demi-Blob would still probably beat this, but against a Karl type build over here, the Karl dives down to try and get out of Lariel, but the Rahagras Pride plus Fireborn are a lot of elite models to deal with. And with the healing here, keeping them sustained, still 16 models on the Rahagras Pride. Likewise, I don't think Dragon Princes lost too many models. Yeah, 38 models still there, so very solid stuff so far. And over on the other side, same thing. Empire Knights are rallying here. Karl also getting a regrowth, dives back in. Karl just an absolute powerhouse. Will be able to down models straight up, and as a result, you know, they're not going to be able to regenerate that damage, but Rahagras Pride here able to hold its leadership in and just providing that little bit of extra armor-piercing punch. Again, you would expect Dragon Princes to win these engagements anyway. They're just against Empire Knights, right? But the Lions giving that extra little bit of speed and armor-piercing damage to make that combination that much more impactful, although they are kind of anti-infantry, quote-unquote, right? And they have bonus versus infantry. In fact, using them to support those large engagements, especially if the Dragon Princes can take the brunt of the damage, if you can heal it, resist with the physical resistance, they have good melee defense as well, so they can try and shrug off some of the damage that way. Empire is able to kind of reform a little bit of a gun line, though. Rahagras Pride does get rounded off here as Karl's continues to just tank in this engagement. But the Nobles, or the Noble rather, and the Fireborn are able to see him off, not fully chase him off. He isn't routed by any means, but here the War Lions again coming in, just able to clean up the Empire Knights and having the ability to chase, not only chase, but actually deal damage while chasing, right? Which is something that Illyrian Reavers aren't nearly as good at against something like Empire Knights. Like here, Karl dives down, probably take out a model or two, but he will also take some damage as the War Lions come in and start to surround. They have a good amount of weapon strength, right? They're essentially like same weapon strength as Demigryph Knights almost. Just less charge bonus, but he doesn't actually beat them, ends up taking a bunch of damage and has to flee back up into the air. One more regrowth for Karl. Will he escape, though, is the question. Is his ground speed fast enough? Looks like the Dragon Princes are able to keep up, and more importantly, of course, the Lions. Actually, I think the charge animation there of the Dragon Princes might be enough. Lions actually peel to go after the caster there. Karl's still trying his best to get away. Outriders here firing, but look at this. With their charge animation and faster speed, the War Lions can switch targets very quickly like that and catch these Outriders even though they're trying to get away. Just blending their unit models. Again, not really a unit that you wouldn't expect them to be able to counter, right? Looking at the stat card, their armor-piercing damage, their anti-infantry, using them to fight skirmish cav. But in fact, yeah, in a situation like this, where the skirmish cav are a little bit too close, you can very quickly switch targets, do effective damage there. Nice Tempest also on Carl, continuing to control his movements. Lothar and Seagard have had a saga all of their own here in the back. One of them took a bunch of damage, the other one's got some chevrons and hasn't taken any damage, so something happened there, I'm sure. But we've been focused on the kittens here in pursuit. Outriders, only 84 speed on Outriders. I think then that, yeah, Warlions are just barely slower, and with their charge animation, I think they'd probably be able to catch them regardless. So actually really nice there. One of the reasons I recently highlighted Grenade Outriders, and I kind of forget sometimes that Outriders are a little slower than a lot of other skirmish cav. And, like, Warlions are very fast. For a high damage armor piercing unit, like, they might be one of the fastest, like, high DPS units in the game. Very much glass cannons, but, again, using the Dragon Princes almost as, like, a mobile anvil that also charges, so I guess it's two mobile hammers that you smash together? I don't know. Like, a hammer that you fire out of a glass cannon. There we go. I don't know. Regardless, using these two in tandem, whatever weird metaphor you want to come up with, I like quite a bit having the defensiveness and still the damage, and especially like the anti-infantry, just extreme shock of the Dragon Princes. I mean, the Warlions are anti-infantry, but because they have a lower model count, they don't do as much of an impact, like in terms of knocking an entire unit over and hitting all of its models. So yeah, using them kind of together in tandem for the armor piercing, speed helping to support against cavalry, knights helping to support against infantry. I'm planning a video soon about this topic, but no units in this game are meant to fight in general. Everything always needs support, but there are certainly times when a specific type of support can be very, very good, even, like, in this situation. Like, I really, really like this synergy here. I've seen Silver Helms plus Warlions be used before, but this is the first time I think I've seen Dragon Princes plus Warlions in a really, really efficient, effective build against, I would say, what's a pretty solid Empire player and a pretty solid Empire build. I mean, AC Moore I've seen around in tournaments and stuff. I'm familiar with the name, know he's a pretty solid player, and this is a, like, standard Empire build for the most part. I mean, lacking Steam Tank for my personal taste, but, I mean, you've kind of got your bases covered. Carl's very good in this matchup. Empire Knights are solid for blocking. You've got your armor-piercing missiles. Silver Bullets are pretty decent, although I'm not the biggest fan, personally, of stationary infantry skirmishers. I guess infantry skirmishers, they're not totally stationary, but I would personally trade them out for a war wagon, probably. But regardless, very nicely done from Norman here. Also, Rangers in the front line, 2 of them got pounded, 2 of them did okay. Alariel doing the healing, and those Lothar and Seagard, man, 73 kills, XP Chevron. Must have traded pretty well against, like, the Silver Bullets or something. Sorry I didn't highlight you guys. You know, I'm sure you'll have a fun time on a boat somewhere. And then, yeah, the Dragon Princes both racking up a ton of kills with the Warlions in tow. Super fun stuff. In terms of Warlions, they're just such an interesting unit. Because their cost makes them, and their squishiness makes them seem a little bit almost like the Grenade Outriders in a way. Like, they're tricky to use, I'll say. They're glass cannons, certainly, in the truest sense. And they do have a lot of HP per model. That's something to be aware of, which means they're good candidates for healing. So taking them with Alariel makes a lot of sense to me. Quite a bit of HP per model, although the overall health of the unit is pretty low, especially when you look at the armor and melee defense. You definitely want to avoid taking charges or too much missile damage on them if you can. But that 82 speed means if you're on top of your micro, you certainly can avoid those engagements. And one of the things about high elf heavy cavalry is it's very fast. Dragon Princes, I want to say, are the fastest shock cavalry in the game, the fastest heavy shock cavalry, I should say. Obviously, Wild Riders are faster, but I was just quickly going to double check Bretonia to make sure. I think these guys are 76, 75 for Grail Knights, yeah, 75 for Knights of the Realm, so they are fastest, and they're only 4 speeds slower than the war lines, right? So these two will keep up with each other pretty well and be able to fight together efficiently. Dragon Princes with the Martial Mastery have really good melee defense for shock cavalry, physical resistance, and also, again, 78 speed means they can avoid taking bad engagements in a lot of cases. So picking and choosing your fights, using that speed to your advantage, and then just coming in and doing an absolute ton of damage. I like it a lot of synergy to be had there, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that. In terms of other use cases, I would say using this against cavalry factions, like the Empire is kind of an interesting one because they can take a lot of different tools. I would say maybe trying this also. Greenskins is interesting, they might be able to control your movements a little bit better. Empire actually, interestingly enough, doesn't have the best control tools anymore. They used to be the only faction with nets, and now they are not, and they don't even have poison really at all, so yeah, like other factions as well, Bretonnia has a little bit of ability to control your movements, and generally the Knights would probably there be enough to outclass this, and again, against the Empire, like I think you'd probably still lose to a demi-blob there. You'd have to wait until, see if you can bait the Empire player into using their buffs early, and then charging in once the prayer buffs are gone. If you can get a rear charge on the demis, you will be able to win. But just in general, like Volkmar with the demis juiced, I think would probably still beat this. But just thinking through, maybe Greenskins, I would probably try it against the Dark Elves as well. Maybe against like Tomb Kings. Yeah, sort of the other like combined arms type factions. Warriors of Chaos actually might be a pretty decent try as well. But I don't know, I kind of want to try out this build for myself in a few different matchups and see how it goes, and I'll get back to you on that. If any of you want to do the same, feel free. Yeah, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you like this type of content, be sure to like, sub, all that jazz. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.